Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Just Let Me Touch the Trees. I'm Sarah, and thank you for being here today again with me. Today, I am at the end of a hike that I did down to a fjord here called Crapola, and it's one of my favorite places in the peninsula. Um, and it's the last bit of activities I did to move my body this week, which uh, feels like feel better than I felt, and I can't even tell you. Um, and it's been especially good to kind of move all of this energy around that I've been kind of sitting with over the last month since we last chatted. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. And I, the last month, I've been doing a lot of thinking about the role that I've played in my own story, but also what that role means in the story of other people, in their lives and their journeys. And it's been a month of really reflecting on that and really trying to not come to terms necessarily, but acknowledge and accept the fact that um, without intention of doing this, I've been the villain in someone's story, right? I've made mistakes. I'm human, and the title of this episode is "It's Me. Hi, I'm the problem." And I think that um, one of the really brave and courageous things that we can do is rather than hide the pieces of ourselves that we consider bad or weak or maybe we're ashamed of, um, it's better and healthier, and it allows us to expand more if we um, sit with them and talk to those parts of ourselves to understand that they are still part of us, of who we are as a person. They don't have to rule who we are as a person. Um, and really finding a way to forgive ourselves for the role that we've played um, in other people's lives that might not have been a very positive thing. And you know, I'm not one. I'm the furthest thing from perfect that you could ever be. Even though this struggle with perfectionism I've had for a majority of my adult life. And I really feel like now in the last couple of years, I've been coming to terms with the fact that this idea of perfection and striving to be perfect and feeling the need to be perfect, a lot of those were identities I built about myself from social constructs, right? They weren't a it's not a natural thing, right? Because there's nothing perfect in humanity, I guess. And even in the natural world, like Mother Nature moves in beautiful cycles, but Mother Nature is perfect in her imperfection, right? Where things grow, bloom, and then they die. In a perfect world, it all live forever, right? But that would mean that in the dying and then the regeneration, we don't have the necessary moment to sit with ourselves and understand that we need rest. We need to shed what is done and gone so we can prepare ourselves for um, the next phase. And this year has been a really big lesson in that, I think, for myself. And like the biggest lesson in growth um, is that I've needed to learn to acknowledge my own problems of self, but also how those have affected other people. Ask for their forgiveness where it's possible, but then also forgive myself for not being the type of person that I want to be. Um, and also just knowing that anytime I've made those mistakes, it's room for me to grow and do better the next time. Um, I spent a lot of years hiding those parts of myself, and when I would make a mistake, or if I would hurt somebody, or not be like, um this vision of myself that I had, that where I could have no flaws. I needed to be absolutely 100% perfection, and I never achieved it because it's not possible, right? Like, um this year especially, I unintentionally hurt several people that were very close to me, and then also other people that were close to them. And it was a big moment for me to come to terms with the fact that my own actions had deeply affected uh, their life, and some of the hopes and dreams and things that they had, and that was never my intention. It was um, something I really struggled with, actually, at the beginning of the year, and I spent a lot of time crying and cursing myself, which is never useful in any. I mean, it doesn't. There's no use in talking yourself down, right? One of the things that I learned deeply in this moment was that I needed to reach out to people that I cared about in my life, that would require me to be open, honest, and completely transparent with this big mistake that I had made. And that was really, really hard, to sit before them and make myself so vulnerable, to be like, hey, it's me, I'm the problem. And I know I really fucked up. I messed up really, really badly. And I don't know how to go forward from here. I don't know what to do. And I was very fortunate that those people that I confided in, and asked for help, um, and even if that was just a listening ear, you know, it was a humbling moment, and also one that was very, whoo, this makes me emotional. um, it was a really beautiful moment to have someone hold a space for me where I had stripped myself down bare and been the most vulnerable that I could possibly be. And for them to come back to me and say, Sarah, it's okay. We still love you. Yeah, you messed up. You messed up. But that's not the end of everything. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in these areas of our lives where we don't feel we've performed the best we could, or we hurt somebody unintentionally, or something didn't go the way we planned, and which is pretty much always. And you know, when that happens, we can turn away from ourselves when we should really be looking to inside ourselves. We should be looking inward and asking, okay, what does this part of ourselves need that we've expressed this way, in a way that's not our best form, right? And it's not an easy thing to do, and it takes practice, I think, repetition, and also just being gentle with ourselves, um, which is not always easy, and admitting that, okay, in this situation, I'm the problem. And that doesn't make us weak. It doesn't make us failures. It doesn't mean that everything is terrible and it's going to be terrible and it's not going to get any better, because it always, it always gets better. It always swings back. That's the balance and the duality of life, right? It's not going to be good forever, and it's never going to be bad forever, right? So, in this instance, because I was given the gift of that space to express my shortcomings, to express where I failed somebody, where I messed up, um, I'm very grateful as well for that, because I was given that really valuable space to completely be myself in all of the bad parts and the good parts. I think I was really able to look at myself completely fully for the first time in my life and not think about what should I change, what's wrong with me, because we're always growing and changing. It's not like what should the thing about change is that it should come from within, in the authentic parts of ourselves. We shouldn't change ourselves to fit and mold into somebody else, but the changes and evolutions that happen should be true to who we are inside, and our souls on this journey. And um I one of the things that I have done, I always like to leave you guys with, some reflection, or a little easy practice, if you will, that when I have messed up, or when I can be better, or when I know that I could have been, I don't know, just a better version of myself. I like to do shadow work, is what I call it, but it's essentially just reflecting on maybe the parts of yourself that you don't like so much, or that you would like to be better or change, um, to a truer version of you. And I do shadow work meditations. That doesn't necessarily work for everybody else, but that can also be as simple as journaling. um, Really easy, writing a question down that says, maybe in this last month, or the last 3 months, or 6 months. I recently just had my half birthday. I don't really celebrate the half birthday thing, but I do like to take note of that halfway point through this new year, this new turn around the sun for my life, and see in the last 6 months where I've been doing well, where I feel like I could improve, and also like what's going right, and being grateful for that, and also being grateful, finding gratitude in the parts that could be better, right? So maybe that could be an easy thing for you guys if you're going through these kinds of changes and thoughts. And I know that there have been some of my other friends that have been kind of dealing with some similar things in I don't know if it's the energy of the stars right now, and we're all in this big transformation period. It's probable. Um, but uh, full moons actually, full moons are actually for forgiveness. And this last full moon, which was really close to my half birthday, so 6 months after my 40th birthday, um, I really sat with the question of, okay, in the last 6 months, what do I feel like has gone well? And I wrote that down. And then I thought, okay, what in the last 6 months, or how in the last 6 months, have I not been the best version of myself? And then what would I like to see for the next 6 months, um, for this next year of my life? And I'm a very like list person. My ascendant sign is Virgo, so I like lists. And so it helps me break down a problem, and I do this a lot in my research and my work. I like to we work on complex problem solving. So the easiest way to do complex problem solving is to break it down into simple pieces, and then break those simple pieces down into simpler pieces. And I think sometimes we can get overwhelmed with the enormity of the feeling that when we make mistakes, or we think something doesn't go the way we want, and it could be better, we get lost in the emotion of the enormity of it, rather than thinking about it in a list and breaking that down into ways that we can compartmentalize, and then take, meaningful action on those things. And so it's a structured way for me to deal with unstructured emotions that can really take over my being if I let it sometimes. So I'll leave you with that. I think I've talked to you guys enough for today. Plus, I have to finish walking back to town so I can catch the bus. But if just to recap, if you want to sit and think about any of these things, where you've been the problem, a really structured, easy way to do that is, okay, in the last month, 3 months, 6 months, week, even whatever time frame works for you, ask yourself, okay, what has gone right? What about this last period of time, whatever that is? For me, it's 6 months. What do I feel like has gone well? Where do I feel like I could have done better? Um, and what would I like to see after looking at both sides of the coin? And then that third question is, what would I like to see happen in the next month, next week, next 6 months, next 3 months, whatever that period of time feels good for you, feels good in your soul. And I feel like you'll be surprised what will speak to you, I think, when you sit down and just be still and listen for a moment to what your soul is saying underneath. Because um, when we can take the noise out of something, we see that these problems are not really so big as we thought they were. Um, and that also helps me stay a lot a lot more peaceful and centered, as opposed to spiraling into my massive overthinking anxiety that can happen as well. So um, thank you guys again for being here. um, Subscribe if you would like to. I'm on YouTube and Spotify. Um, Possibly soon Apple Podcasts and maybe Substack. I will keep you posted on that. But YouTube and Spotify. My socials are also in the comments. So if you want to follow along on Instagram or Facebook, I'm most active there. I also have TikTok, but most active on those two. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you guys for being here. Um, Love you lots. And remember, it's okay if you're the problem. It's not the end of the world. You're still a good person. You still have so much to give to the world. And I hope you don't forget that. Okay. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. See you.